All right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and today we're talking about how to tell when it's time to upgrade your toolbox or roll carts. All right, we're going to talk about beginning technicians in the first part of this video and more experienced technicians in the last half of the video. So, different advice for different levels of experience. If you're just getting into this business, maybe just coming out of tech school, in tech school, or only a year or two into the business, you do not need a high dollar tool truck toolbox. In fact, I do not recommend you get one. The reason is a lot of times you get into the business after working on your buddy's car or your car in the driveway. That is way different than doing it for a living. Completely different atmosphere, completely different mindset. So I'm going to link in the description starting tools, and in that video I talk about starting toolboxes and stuff like that. So it's a good video to watch if you're just getting into this business. Harbor Freight, great place to get starter boxes. Their roll cart is bulletproof. Their toolboxes are pretty good as far as the higher end boxes they have are really good. Husky, Home Depot, Lowe's, Sears, great boxes. Don't let the tool truck guy push you into getting a box like this when you're just getting started out. You need money for tools. A toolbox is not going to help you day to day, just starting out. We'll get into that a little bit later in the video. You need tools. You don't need a huge payment on a box to store it in. So, Harbor Freight. Now, there are some options. The larger roll carts from the tool trucks are a good option for a starting technician. They're pricey. I mean, $1,200 up to $2,500 in that range. But it can be a very good toolbox replacement for those first couple years. So it's a good option as far as getting something that's you're going to continue using later on. And I will link the video of the tour of my current roll cart as an example. You can fit a lot of stuff in those boxes. So you can actually work out of those boxes for several years and then maybe upgrade to a Harbor Freight toolbox. But you don't want to go to a big high dollar toolbox until you're well into your career, know you're going to stay in it, so you can invest in your tool storage as a long-term solution. So now we're going to talk about when you're more experienced, when you've been in it for a little while. Let's say you took my advice. You've got a Harbor Freight roll cart. You've got a Harbor Freight toolbox. Well, you're out of room. What do? Well, you can get a Snap-on, Matco, Mac, bigger roll cart. That'll add a little bit of room for a while. But you're getting more experience. You need more special tools. What kind of accessories can you get for your current box? Remember, you don't have to get another box. You can just add accessories. And this goes to Snap-on, Matco, and all the tool trucks. You can add a side locker. Now, the Harbor Freight side locker is not as well made as the toolbox. It is a little cheesy, but it's good storage. If you've got one of the smaller Snap-on Matco, you can add a side locker. You can add a hutch to a lot of them. You can add top drawers. Look at those options. Sometimes it makes sense to upgrade and add accessories over buying a new box. But let's say, your box doesn't have accessories available, or it's really not going to add enough room to make it worthwhile as far as the cost. A snap-on side cabinet is like $25 to $3,000. All right, you're out of room. What are your options? Well, you can go to a bigger box. Ask yourself, though, what can I do with my current box? You've got options of a top chest, side lockers. There's tons of options. Now, you have to decide whether or not those options are worthwhile. Is it going to add enough room for me to justify keeping my current setup? Or another option is a locking cabinet sold at Sears, Home Depot, Lowe's. It's just a big metal box with shelves. An option. But you have to decide whether it's worth it to do an upgrade as far as add accessories, or do an upgrade to a bigger box. What's going to be better in the long term? You need to plan out your purchase of a toolbox for several years. One of the worst mistakes you can make is either going too big or not big enough. Let's say you buy a, classic smaller snap-on toolbox. Well, you move all your stuff over and you spread out a little more, and you realize you didn't gain that much space. Yeah, your tools are better laid out, but you don't have a whole lot more room to add more tools. So you need to figure out exactly what size bigger you need to go, how much more room you need to decide what kind of toolbox you get. Let's say you're in a good size snap-on double bank. Well, does it make sense to go to a triple bank, or does it make more sense to add a locker? It depends on your situation. I can't, telepathically tell you exactly what you've got and what you're going to grow into. So think about what kind of storage you're going to be doing. If you've got a double bank, you're working at a dealer, and you need storage for blow molded cases, adding a locker is a great option. Because I can tell you from this upgrade, yes, I added a bunch of room, but I didn't really pick up a lot of room for blow molded cases because I went to a larger toolbox without lockers, which may change in the future, but we'll see. Now, it's going to depend on what you're going to be adding in the future. If you need more space for wrenches and sockets and smaller tools, a bigger box makes sense. But if you're mainly going to be buying blow molded cases, a locker could be a better choice. Short term, but here's the kicker, long term. You need to remember that no matter what you buy now, eventually you're going to run out of room. If you stay in this business and keep buying tools, eventually you're going to run out of room. I mean, I'm a great example. I have a triple bank and a double bank and a roll cart. So I've got room now because I've upgraded and I've got a better layout, but you're only gaining so much space by going from a large double bank to a triple bank. So everything needs to be considered as far as space. Can you afford it? Here's a big one, guys and gals. Can you afford to add another payment? Remember, this is not a cheap purchase. It is a very expensive purchase. You're going to add $40, $50, $60 a week to your payments. Can you afford that on top of continuing to buy tools? So it's important to make sure you keep your finances in order. And FYI, used is always a good option. If you can get a deal on a known free and clear toolbox, i.e. Craigslist is questionable, make sure and run that serial number to make sure they actually paid off that toolbox, because it can be repoed. Just like a car, if they didn't pay on it, the Snap-on guy finds out you got Bubba Joe Bob's toolbox, they will come and they will repo it. So important to know when you're buying used that you're buying a used box that is paid off. My problem with used is I looked for several years for a used triple bank that would suit my needs. I never found it. 9 times out of 10, there was something wrong with the deal. Found a Snap-on triple bank. He wanted too much money for it, and it had rust coming through on the paint where the paint had broke off. And wasn't willing to warranty it and get a new one. So I wasn't doing that one. Another one would have been a great box. It was a high-top triple bank Snap-on with a hutch and dual lockers. It was white. I don't like white in an auto repair shop. Might work great in a body shop. Auto repair, I just don't know. So, but that was always my problem. I could never find that great box to replace my current box on the used market, which is why I went with the Matco Revel X. Now here is a situation where it's the elephant in the room. If you can afford it, sometimes you just want it. That's what happened right here. I could continue going on the way I was going on, but I wanted it. I can afford it. I wanted it, so I bought it. If you can afford it and you want it, get it. But make sure it is moving forward a good bit, not taking a tiny little step forward. Because after all, they're expensive, so make sure and choose wisely. Now, I want to close this video for everybody, experienced and the younger techs, and I've said this for years. A toolbox does not make you any money, but can cost you dearly. What I mean by that is, in the world of flat rate, if you're not working on a car, you're not making money. Inefficient storage is one of the worst things you can have as far as personal efficiency. You want to go to your toolbox. If you need a special tool, open that drawer, grab it, get back to work. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you really like the video, subscribe. Hit that bell notification to make sure you get notified when I put out a new video. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.